processes or systems to go actually study internal audit?
Anyone wants to take it?
So I was part of statutory audit for a very long time, most of my career actually. I switched to internal audit. I think the mindset you need to change is not look for numbers. You need to look at the process. So don't bother with vouching, because if you are auditing a very reputable company, you'll not find a voucher which is not signed. You'll not generally not find an invoice without a PO. So you need to look at the flow of information and the process, not look at numbers. So I think that is a start. Yeah.
So far I have worked with Charanjot Singh Nanda quite a lot. I remember a few of his lines, and then taking his forward when he says that don't look at the numbers. And I remember once Nanda mentioned that सवाल ये नहीं कि शीशा कैसे टूटा, सवाल ये है कि पत्थर किसने फेंके थे. So once you are into internal audit, you need to reach to the cause, that how this number is appearing, why this number is appearing, and whether this number or should there be some other number which should have appeared here. So if we keep that kind of holistic approach, then it is very, I won't say easier, but path will be good enough for you to pave into the internal audit practice.
Beautiful. So I think सवाल ये नहीं कि शीशा कैसे टूटा, सवाल ये है कि पत्थर किसने फेंका. See, normally what I do is all the observations I bifurcate into three, whether it is a people issue, process issue or system issue. I think this what he mentioned was a people issue. है ना, कुछ लिखा है पत्थर नहीं मारने का, फिर भी किसी ने मारा, किसने मारा, क्या हुआ, and how to train that guy. Sorry, Ajay wanted to add something on the question Rajesh asked.
Just a spin on what was already said before, that as an external auditor, if your processes are inefficient, you couldn't care a dime as long as the numbers were reported correctly. For an internal auditor, that's of paramount importance. You would want to point out the inefficiencies in your processes, make sure that they are rectified.
Great. So I think we are ready to start the panel, as Siddhi will invite us to the dais. But I just give you a trial कि किसी को भी सोना अलाउड नहीं है, हम सोने देंगे नहीं. और मेरे को स्टेज पे बैठने का आदत ही नहीं है, तो मेरे को नीचे कूदने का बहुत मजा आता है, उधर तक पहुंच जाता हूँ लास्ट तक मैं. तो आ जाऊँगा माइक लेके. अच्छा क्या बताया उन्होंने, बताओ भरत रमनी ने क्या बोला. So I'm just warning you, बाद में बोलेगा गेम बताया नहीं, रूल क्या है गेम का बताया नहीं था. तो आई एम टेलिंग यू व्हाट इज द गेम ना. अमिताभ बच्चन भी बेचारा पहले ही बोलता है कौन बनेगा करोड़पति में क्या क्या होएगा. Great.
Great. Welcome back everyone. I hope you all enjoyed the delicious lunch, and yes, we are fueled up to gain more knowledge. We are diving right back into the seminar with an insightful panel discussion on next generation audit tools and technology in audit. I would now like to invite upon the stage our panelists for this session. We'll start with the moderator, CA Murtuza Kachwala sir, to be on the stage, please. Kachwala, okay. Sorry, sir. Then CA Sanjay Deodhar sir. CA Bharat Ramani sir. CA Ajay Ghanekar sir. CA Bhavana Bhatt ma'am. Okay, we'll start with introducing each and everyone. हाँ. Nice. Okay, I'll start by introducing each and everyone. First, I'll start with a moderator whom you have been listening from so long time, and he's so much engaging throughout the discussions of each and every session speaker. So he is a regional council member of WIRC of ICAI and was the chairman of WIRC for 2022-23. He is currently a member on advisory board on SITM Pune. He carries a master's in commerce, CMA, CIA, ISO 27001 lead auditor, CISA, and also a DISA. He carries more than 20 years of experience in professional working with broad range of global organizations. Sir is also managing director with Protivity, if I've pronounced it correct, and heads the internal audit and financial advisory practice for Western India.
Thank you.
Then we have the next one to introduce CA Sanjay Deodhar sir, who is a commerce graduate and a fellow member of ICAI, specializing in internal audit. He has recently joined Cumin's organization to lead the internal audit function of Cumin's companies and affiliates in India and Asia-Pacific regions. It's Cummins. Okay, Cummins. He has played the role of leading internal audit function for Thermax group of companies located across the globe. He has implemented audit analytics for key business processes using Python programming and Microsoft Power BI. He was also associated with BK Khare and Company Chartered Accountants initially as a trainee, then as a senior manager, and also joined it there as a partner. Next one to introduce is CA Bharat Ramani sir, who is an internal audit professional with a degree in information systems audit. He carries a work experience of more than 22 years in financial service industries and consulting organizations. He is currently working as a head of internal audit with ECL Finance Limited, prior to which he has worked with organizations like Credit Suisse, AXA Industries, PwC, and Deloitte. He is an internal controls and finance motivational speaker and has also spoken at various industry forums. Next to introduce is CA Ajay Ghanekar sir, who is an associate director for internal audit at Lonza AG Pune and has worked with various industries like courier or freight we say, then consulting, life sciences and manufacturing. To talk about his educational qualifications, he is a chartered accountant, has completed his bachelor's in commerce from the Mumbai University and a master's of science in business analytics from BITS Pilani. He carries various business skills in accounting, budgeting and MIS, internal audit and internal controls, data analytics, audit tool development, to name a few. Next we have CA Bhavana Bhatt ma'am. She is a chartered accountant with more than 15 years of experience in internal auditing and internal controls. Currently, she is working as a senior manager assurance in BMC Software India Private Limited, leading India assurance function. Prior to BMC, was associated with Ernst & Young LLP Pune as a senior manager in risk advisory or business consulting. Skilled in monitoring internal audit function for all the corporate office functions. She has abilities in recommending value additions through process reviews, process enhancement, and internal control monitoring. As an experienced project manager, she has led engagements for clients in leading companies, technology sector, manufacturing sector, covering major processes across finance, business, and support functions. Now, let's felicitate all of these people. First, I request CA Rajesh Agrawal sir to felicitate our moderator, CA Murtuza Kachwala sir. Big round of applause, please.
Friends, I missed my opening remark today. That's why I missed to thank Murtuza Kachwala sir for structuring this program and all making available 11 faculties, including he 12. Total 12 faculties he has coordinated himself, and really thanks sir for all support to Pune branch to organize this beautiful program.
Okay, so we'll next felicitate CA Sanjay Deodhar sir. Big round of applause. CA Bharat Ramani sir. CA Ajay Ghanekar sir. And CA Bhavana Bhatt ma'am. Okay, so we'll start. I think we should start with the panel discussion now. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Siddhi.
Thank you, sir.
Excellent work being done. A round of applause for her as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Let me first thank the chairman of Pune branch, Rajesh Agarwal, and managing committee member Amruta Kulkarni. She is also the vice chairman. And Rushikesh was here in the morning, and all other managing committee members. ये यहाँ जो managing committee का duty है in ICI, that is also Monday to Sunday. Sunday also is your whole day. So I think all of them also deserve a round of applause for all the managing committee members. Thanks to all the speakers, panelists, moderators for accepting our invitation today and being here on this Sunday. And thanks to each and every one for being so obedient and being in the room so on the time. I think we are at 2:24. So we'll take 15 more minutes, and which means we'll not end at 5. The CPE slips will be taken at 5:15. Okay. So with that, let us start. Because both the panels will need that much time. 5 लोग हैं तो थोड़ा time लगेगा. But without taking anything else, let us get straight to the question. Because there is a lot of experience on the dais, and I'm sure we'll love to listen to them. So Bhavana, coming to you straight away. What are the emerging trends and changes in internal audit?
Thank you for the opportunity to inviting me here. I would like to thank that opportunity. Okay, on the emerging trends, so I feel that role of an internal auditor has always been dynamic, and with the recent changes in the technology, the emerging trend that we are seeing is embracing the technology, automation, and digitization as a part of the risk function has become very critical for the internal auditor overall in their audit practices, in the audit procedures. Embedding that in the traditional audit is of very much importance. So we keep hearing automation, digitization, but how do we actually do that? There are concepts like continuous control monitoring, real-time auditing. So all this can be done through AI, data analytics. So this will help internal auditor in getting the things done quite faster and with much efficiency. They can bring in the much more quality that is required in audit.
Thank you. So before I go to the next question or to the next panelist, how many of us know VLOOKUP? VLOOKUP? You take some number from here, compare with something else, right? Bank reconciliation also, you can take the check number, instrument number, and do this thing. HLOOKUP also? Very good. Anyone has used ACL or IDEA software? 2, 3, 4, 4, 5. Off the shelf, ekdam easy hai. You can buy and you can start using it. Jada zarurat nahi hai training ka. And Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, Delhi, has signed a MOU with Casware Canada, which is a parent for IDEA. India mein there is SAMA audit tool. 50,000 rupees is one-time purchase price, and every year renewal price is 10,000. अगर आप वो ले लेते हो, तो then you can use it for all your clients, all your processes. Videos भी है, procure to pay के अंदर क्या क्या queries है, order to cash में क्या क्या queries है, उसके videos भी है, और काफ़ी सारी queries are ready. You just need to upload the data from SAP, Oracle, Tally. What query to run and what data is required is known. And if you are little smart, you can even do coding in IDEA and build your own queries. Okay, so I think that is off the shelf, but there is a lot more. And now I come with the same question to Sanjay. So let me first tell you, he is a chartered accountant. Ah, Sanjay, barabar? He is not a software programmer, but as I know, Thermax mein when he was there in the internal audit as audit head, he sat there and he coded, he wrote queries on his own. And he developed so many analytic queries for internal audit. And now, of course, he has moved from Thermax to Cummins. Matlab, there also he must be doing something different. So I think let us hear from him what he has done, how did he write the queries, or whatever he wants to cover on the tools and technology. Sanjay, over to you.
I think, what an introduction. Murtuza, I think we are missing one panelist. Chat GPT. I don't see it here. since we are talking about new gen, because honestly, friends, if you just put in the questions that he was supposed to ask and he's going to ask, you will get extraordinary answers from that particular tool. Okay, so I think the days when he was explaining writing codes, etc., is probably vanishing completely, right? Uh, but before I go to the other aspects of new gen tool, etc., currently, if you look at the conversations which are happening in most of the audit committees and the board, operational audits or operational risks, audits around operational risk is given. Okay, this is no longer a debate in that sense. But there are three things which I see as things which are being consistently being discussed across these forums. First and foremost is product liability. Now, when I'm talking of product liability, I'm talking of the fact that the organizations may put out a product which is not performing, or due to privacy reasons. Now, the reason privacy is many of the products are getting into digitization, right? IT enabled, IoT devices, even normal devices that we buy at home, they are all IT enabled. But privacy concerns, in a sense, how is the data which is generated by these equipments, where does it go, how is it processed, who has control over it? When as consumers we buy this product, we really have any understanding. We believe that we are getting the best in the line of the product and we enjoy it. But from an organizational standpoint, it is a very big risk considering the nature of regulations that are coming up. In Europe, we already have the privacy regulations. In India also, we are having those kind of regulations. Now the question is, I don't think as internal auditors we have really looked at product development at any point in time. And I think the time has come that we need to skill ourselves, get engineers or get other members of the team from within the organizations and start auditing these areas. This is becoming one of the critical areas or concerns. The second area that I also believe is gaining traction, I mean it was already there, is regulatory compliance. Look at the kind of enforcements that are happening across the world and particularly in India. To give an example, I'm talking of a very large manufacturing organizations. If you simply look at the number of provisions that are applicable for these organizations is say approximately 85,000 per year, right? Now imagine this. And as a board, they are responsible. They give a statement as per Companies Act. We have seen everything is fine. Yeah, sorry. So that is another area where the board and the audit committee expects internal audit to do more activity. But the challenge there is that we don't necessarily possess the skill sets, to actually carry out a regulatory compliance audit, right? We may be doing whether payment of PF is done on time or not, but that's not really what it is. So that is a very important aspect which is being discussed. And third, cyber security risks. Most of the large organizations, they have hardened their systems from network attacks, etc., if you look at it. But there is one thing which results into ransomware attack, which is phishing, where an email is sent. For example, you might be sent an innocuous looking email where that email shows that a little puppy photograph, it has been lost, please help me. And the moment you click it, you have compromised your system. Now this phishing emails, they are very difficult to handle because it is dependent upon how the user reacts when he receives, and you can't really control. You can control how you can, how your network can be managed. There are softwares for it, firewalls, hardware, software, etc. But these kind of phishing attacks are very difficult to manage. So there are organizations which have launched programs, training programs around it to explain to the employees what is phishing. There are what should I say, educational phishing emails going on. But I think these are the three trends which I can see and sense and these are the conversations that I have been engaged into most of the time. And honestly, most of the time I have no clue how am I going to audit these areas. That is very true, equally true. Operational audit is bread and butter. But these are the areas where it's extremely difficult to even comprehend an audit universe around this. So I think that's very critical. I will get to the tools and techniques when that particular topic is discussed. Okay, thank you.
So interesting, Sanjay. Lot of inputs, and like you mentioned, almost every organization use RPA, bots, automation. Now, how do we audit, like whether the bot is processing right or not, whether the number of bots which are deployed or bought are correct or not. So deployment, efficiency and effectiveness of RPA. So all of those. So I think new areas are getting added to the audit universe. And procure to pay, order to cash to karna hi hai. So it is going on expanding. And the whole IT audit universe also will cover. That is also becoming a big area. Let us quickly go ahead to the next question. And I'm sure a lot of inputs will keep coming. So Ajay, to you. What are the typical caveats to consider while deploying automation or analytics in internal audit?
Thank you, Murtuza, for the question. I have 3 points here to state, and I'll follow them up with real-world examples. So in my books, before venturing into any automation or data analytics for your internal audit function, please factor these 3 topics. One is have a solid business understanding. Second one is make sure that you understand the limitations of the tools that you're going to deploy. Third one is make sure you have budgeted some time and resources for the last mile checks. Now let me illustrate the examples here, real world ones. So limitations of tools, that's a very universal thing that we are all aware of. We look up, I think there was just a vote before that. We all need to be aware that there are quite a few limitations of that feature. So for example, it is not case sensitive. And knowing that it is not case sensitive could be the difference between a false positive or a false negative on your report. Another example of lack of business understanding of how it could hamper your auditors. During the COVID era, everyone was expecting that the operating costs would shoot up because of supply chain management issues. Now, if you were not aware that your company was already embarking on a lean business management systems, and you would see the same operating cost as the preceding years, you might have jumped to the conclusion that there is some fraudulent activity going here. Some OPEX expenses are getting capitalized and so on. But knowing that you have 5 other initiatives ongoing which could have contributed to productivity improvements, thereby retaining the operating costs. So these are things that we will not be taught in business schools, or the technology will not help you over there. It's your own initiative to know more about the business and the environment it is in. And the last topic, which was about budgeting for last mile checks. I'll take a bit more time over here because that's an example that is very close to my heart. So a logistics company many years ago wanted to look at whether all its depots were complying with the laid down standard operating procedure. You know, when you pick up a shipment, it has to go through certain steps before it is handed to the recipient. Now, the data analysis showed that a particular depot on a particular day of the week for months together was not conducting a check on the volumetric weight. A volumetric weight is basically measuring the length, breadth and height of the parcel that you get and cross-checking it versus the declared weight by the customer so that you don't run any risk of under-invoicing. Now this depot was consistently not doing it for packages about 20 kilos. A specific day of the week, Thursday, let's take the example of Thursday, and this went on for a few months. Sitting in head office, if you were to just rely on the data, your first assumption would be that this is a case at best where the operations team is slacking, they are not following the SOPs, or at worst, they are colluding with a major account holder and helping them ship goods for lesser value. Now, when you do a last mile check, which is when you actually go to the site, speak to stakeholders and try to understand what's happening, you might uncover, which was the case, that there used to be a power outage in that area because the electricity distribution company would have a scheduled downtime. Now, not having your ears to the ground and just relying on data alone is fraught with risks. So just again to summarize these 3 points, have a very good understanding of the business before you start utilizing tools. Make sure you know the ins and outs of the tools so that you understand their limitations. And third thing is budget time for last mile checks, which will help you validate whether the logic underpinning your algorithm or the logic through which you want to classify something as an issue or not, whether that's foolproof. Murtuza, back to you.
Any inputs from you on this?
Sure. Don't lose hope and don't give up. So I think that sums up what my thinking is and what my journey has been, to be honest with you. Getting access to data is one of the most difficult thing you will ever come across, right? Now tell me, if you go on an audit site, what is the first thing that you do? Please tell me, what is the first thing that you do? Right. And then before you start doing some audit test or conducting audit tests, what do you ask for? And to whom do you ask for?
Data document.
Right. So you basically talk to the IT guys and the functions कि मुझे ये report दो, sales register दो, purchase register दो, exactly. Now you must be doing that audit of that particular organization for many years. But every time when you go to audit the same area, you will still end up asking this question. So there is a huge amount of dependency from your side to get this data, right? So if you really want to start your journey on analytics, the first step is, how do you get the report on an automated basis on a regular frequency in a shared drive? That's your first step in your IT automation. Forget about Power BI, forget about Tableau, or all the other tools that people will talk about. You please understand how much efforts you will take to get a single report from the IT guys, and how much study you may have to actually end up doing to get that particular report, because you need to know which columns need to be there in that particular report. But how will you know those columns? Those columns you will know only when you know what you want to do, right? Because what's the point? So the first, and as he has rightly said, understand the business process is one, but you also need to understand, first of all, as to what is my end objective after having deployed all these tools. I will spend thousands of crores of rupees. But what am I going to achieve out of it? Am I going to use these tools for my audit risk assessment? Am I going to use these tools for my audit execution in the form of, say, automating certain of my audit tests? Or am I going to use these audit tools for my reporting purposes? Now, there are different tools for these different aspects. But before you even jump on the tools, you need to precisely understand as to why do I need the data. And start very small, and then slowly but surely scale up. Excel is one of the best thing that you will get to start with, to experiment, because that is where we will all learn the basic concepts of database. Then move to Power Query within Excel. That is where you will get additional understanding of how exactly you can build relationship between the tables, right? And then start thinking of getting raw data from the Oracle or any other databases where the organizations are deployed. So data acquisition, then data storage, data analysis, and data presentation. These are essentially the 4 pillars in any analytics work. And you need to be very clearly understanding as to how and where the flow is going to be. There are different tools. I will not talk about specific tools, but I love one tool more, is Python programming, because it has got the ability to connect to any damn database because of the APIs, right? and it is very simple to learn. It is not hard. I learnt watching YouTube videos. Absolutely no. I don't have any background in computer programming, but it was very easy for me to understand. I struggled. I had lost hope, but I did not give up. And that's the reason why I said, don't lose hope and don't give up. And then it is an extraordinary feeling, to be honest, because you are able to create something. You are able to understand things in much better fashion and much better way. So Python is a very good learning that we all should try to inculcate, and don't lose sight of another tool, which is SQL, which is very basic and old, 40 years old tool, right? Structured query language, which is used across for all the databases. That is also equally important to understand. And both of these tools are free, not a single rupee, right? But even if you get this tool, you need to convince your IT guys and folks कि मुझे data का access दो बाबा. अगर वो नहीं मिला तो then there is no point, right? Then so it is not so easy also, but it is not so difficult, and you need to go stage wise. Don't get overwhelmed with the different tools which are being thrown at you. Don't get overwhelmed. Start from the basic, because we have to start from the basic. Unless you understand that, you will not achieve anything. That's what I feel.
So I think he told us that it was very easy, but let me also tell you some stories which I heard, that he used to do his day work for 10 hours in office. कॉर्पोरेट में 8 तो नहीं रहता है, 10 घंटा संजय काम करने के बाद रात को बैठ के क्वेरी के वीडियो देख के सीखते थे. सैटरडे भी जाते थे और संडे भी जाते थे शायद. नहीं, संडे नहीं. नहीं, काम बहुत किया. मतलब जितना सीए की एग्ज़ाम में पास करने के लिए किया, उतना संजय ने 14-15 आवर्स आई थिंक दिया और क्वेरीज लिखा बैठ के और वीडियो देख के सीखा. बरोबर है?
Then I bought a book finally. I invested a lot of money in that, almost 10,000 rupees. And I started reading the book and enjoyed that. And you need not be expert in whatever language you want to be, but at least you can have an intermediate level. So typically my day used to be, I used to build this proof of concept queries in the morning and through the afternoon. And then I used to actually test them and run them in the night, so that because of the load factor, and typically we used to extract around 17 crore records or something like that, and within 6 months we were able to build around 274 Power BI dashboards, which were updated on a weekly basis, right? Processing around 25,000 records. So each of those 274 dashboards actually represented the audit tests that we wanted to do across inventory, project management, and procure to pay. I mean, that was the general story. There is a video on IA India where you can see actually demonstration of the work that has happened there.
So I'll quickly come to Bharat, but before that let me summarize what they said, and if my understanding is correct. I think whatever client we want to work on, that industry, and even before I come to that, see, there are two things. The basic foundation is the standard on auditing, SA. And whether you do tax audit, statutory audit, internal audit, SAs are applicable. And over and above that, if you want to do internal audit, then the SIS, which he covered somewhere in the morning. Now, between the SS and SIS, there is one standard on understanding the nature of business. So if you're doing a pharma company, then you need to understand pharma, manufacturing, software, and capital market, means finance, NBFC. So there are different people we brought so that we can get different experience, but understanding that industry well. Then when you go to a client, what are the systems they use? CRM system alag hai, inventory alag hai, payroll alag hai, outsource kar diya hai, either accounting alag hai. How does the information flow where it is? How much is the information? Is it at a common place? Can we extract it? And then maybe you start saying like, what do I want to compare with what? And then start writing the queries. At the cost of repetition, because Sanjay mentioned, I am again saying, Python or SQL, 60 hours में सिखा रहे WRC 9,000 rupees. Saturday evening, Sunday morning, घर पे बैठ के अपने लैपटॉप पे करना है, अपना डेटा लेके जाओ. SDCA is the agency, CA Akshay Rugani is the owner, and if you bring your data from your office or client also, they will help you. So take homework back on Sunday and then come back on next Saturday again with queries for them. And the second part is, part 2 is 40 hours, 6,000 rupees. We are using Power BI, Power Query, Tableau. And part 3 we are about to launch. We are talking to both UiPath and Automation Anywhere के RPA bot को use करके automation कैसे कर सकते हैं. And this both part 1 and part 2 we are also launching for the CA students at WIRC. So with that, I think let me come now to Bharat, to you. And you can cover on the earlier questions also if you want to. But a simple thing, does technology make internal auditor's job easy? And even before you start answering, someone was at lunch, I think Pratima was asking me, कि इतना सब automation होएगा, technology होएगा, तो क्या अपने लिए कुछ काम बचेगा क्या नहीं? So will you be in job or will you be out of job? That is a question.
Yeah, thanks for that, Murtuza. Yeah, I think it's going back to the basics, whether we can use technologies or not. I'm sure all of us do use technologies in our personal lives anyway. I don't think there will be anyone who's not having phone. How many of you have tried ChatGPT? So I think Sanjay was mentioning earlier. So many of them, right? What do you think? Does ChatGPT is better or Google is better? Why is that? It gives you a ready-made thing, right? But let me tell you, there is a menace as well. If you start relying too much on ChatGPT, you lose your own analytical abilities. At least Google, we had 10 million items coming in and you had to choose which one you think is right. So see, internal audit's job definitely is easier by technology. But at the same time, I'll say do not lose focus on your main abilities, which is your own analytical abilities. Just a very quick draw of hands, how many of you have done internal audits in your career? One, two, many? There are, and people who are not. So I'm a career internal auditor. I have done stat audits also, I have done tax audits also. But let me tell you, the fun which you get, fun which you enjoy while doing internal audit is nowhere to be seen. In fact, I go to the extent saying that even in statutory audits, you can use internal audit concepts. I'll just give you a very brief example, and maybe you can use in your audits as well. So I was auditing as a statutory auditor for one of the big companies, and we were doing variance analysis from previous year. And our ratio analysis indicated that the purchases for this year have been booked, which were some X then percentage more than previous years. Now, there was a humongous task to find out what made this. What we did was we asked for this entire database from the ITN, because statutory auditors, we got the database access as well. We did our own analysis and found out just from the data analytics that one item, one invoice, so there would be number of invoices, procurement for that particular item throughout the year. But in one invoice, the clerk did mistakenly put in invoice number as the rate rather than the actual rate. And that made this entire amount go higher. Now imagine if you were to do this manually. You would have maybe lakhs of invoices, you'll have to scatter through, find out. So what I'm saying is, and this we did purely in Excel. So nothing, no fancy databases, no fancy softwares, purely in Excel. So as Sanjay said, I think Excel is a beautiful tool. And I think all of us have used that. We should keep on using that as well. But again, going back to the basics, do not lose your own analytical abilities just for the sake of using technology. Thank you.
Thank you, Bharat. I think interesting point you made. So let me go ahead quickly to the next question and I'll seek input from everyone on that. So Ajay, first to you. Which are the tools and technologies that you have witnessed which is being used by internal audit in your organization, in your earlier avatar somewhere, or some other friend or colleague is using in internal audit? What tools, technologies?
So the answer that I'm saying is a common denominator across multiple organizations that I'm aware of. From a database standpoint, let's start over there. So it's either SAP or Oracle. Then from a data extraction standpoint, you have either ACL or IDEA, and there are more options in the market. Then in terms of the databases where you would create your queries or scripts for the tests you want to run, it's SQL primarily. And from a visualization standpoint, it comes to Power BI or Tableau. Now beyond this, now this has been in vogue for the last 15, 20 years perhaps, and it's increasingly permeating to even smaller sized organizations. Perhaps what is now percolating from the larger ones to the next medium level is the reliance on process mining. So we have tools like Signavio, Celonis, which as long as your processes are consistent, predictable, and carry a date time stamp for every single process event, you are in a position to check continuously for compliance with the processes. So that adoption is increasing. And then we have what is currently on the Gartner hype cycle, which is ChatGPT. I mean, people are right now more experimenting with it as opposed to actually using it. That's my worldview. And that's also driven by the fact that these technologies today are untested. So hardly anyone knows how ChatGPT works or how many billions of parameters it's processing in the background and coming to a conclusion. So we have to be a bit cautious about these new age tools in terms of completely relying on them. Bharat also pointed out rightly the risks with that. But otherwise, the tools that are again commonly in place, SQL by and large, and the process mining ones, which are currently increasing.
Bhavana, you want to add something?
Yeah, I would like to add to that while for my organization, while the business owners would be using SQL and all those for the query running or the reports which will be useful for their functions. For the assurance function, we have a tool called Teammate Plus, which is a tool that we use for our internal audit and also the control assessments. And it is while at an overall level, it may feel it is a repository, but it does have the audit workflows, and it has the interfaces, and it can be integrated with the MS Office tools and everything. It is very user-friendly tool. It has all the audit trails and everything. Review monitoring of the audit evidences, of the controls, even the exception reporting is something that is possible in that tool, and also on the follow-up of the remediation action. That is possible through this tool with the control owners. So yeah, it is a very useful tool, and it can also be used for the special projects, not just for the audits or not just for our regular annual audits or the control assessments, but yes, even the special projects. And the best part about it is that it can support multiple teams with multiple projects at the same time. So overall monitoring by CAE becomes much more easier. At the click of one button or at the click of one report, they are able to see the status of what are the control tested, what are the exceptions, where am I today? Yeah.
Sounds pretty similar to ACL and IDEA, to which you were explaining earlier, Murtuza.
There are a lot more. I'll touch upon few names people can write down. But before Sanjay, any tools, technology, you said Python, SQL, anything else that you use for document storing or anything else?
Document storage or audit workflow software, Teammate, that is one of the leading software solution provider. There are a couple of ones which are Indian also. I forget the names of those particular softwares. They are based in Mumbai, but they are also pretty good. And more importantly, you have got an option to customize in the Indian tools, unlike in the foreign tools. Teammate, etc. are foreign tools. I think it is operated by Deloitte, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. It keeps on changing from one organization to other. So from a workflow software, that is there. There is another if I look at data extraction, Python and SQL are the so to say tools for extracting. R is also used if there is a significant amount of statistical programming which is required or output that is done. But what I'm seeing is that there are multiple platforms which actually house all the relevant tools for analytics and machine learning. For example, Databricks, Snowflake, right? Snowflake, Databricks, and both of these softwares, the underpinning is Apache Spark, which is a free kind of organization and has developed that capabilities. And these platforms provide you to access data warehouses or data lakes. And these platforms are able to run different types of programming tools. You can run a Python program within these two, Snowflake or Databricks. You can do SQL endpoint, SQL as well. You can run R, Java, and all kind of stuff. And it has got they also have some limited amount of presentation layer as well. Not as sophisticated as Power BI or Tableau, but these tools also provide linkages between these Power BI and Tableau. So Snowflake and Databricks is an excellent platform. Unfortunately, they don't come free, right? So that's the point. But there is some 30 days trial, 40 days trial, and if you want to just play around and understand what it is, they are great. So slowly even the analytics work is moving on to cloud. That is what I actually wanted to indicate, because the significant amount of processing power is required for machine learning algorithms and so on and so forth. Another competing product is Alteryx. That is also good, what should I say, software. I think it is free. It is no longer free. I have got an installation on my computer from the website.
So they started charging money. They had a massive event on this Friday only at Bombay. So? Yeah. And they brought a lot of corporates and they were selling the product.
So things are moving fast. I am late now. Okay. So Alteryx was one of the. It was actually started by some university in Europe, and they built that particular thing, and it was great. It is a great tool. It's like graphical user interface. No coding is involved in that particular area. And on the presentation layer, Power BI, so I think everybody knows. Tableau, everybody knows. Then there is Quick or something like that.
ClickView
or something like that. And so even Google has got that ability, but I'm not sure I would like to upload my data on Google just for the visualization part. So I think that's what I could recollect. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. So I think thanks to each and everyone. Bharat, I'm coming to you. But before that, let me touch a few things. They covered a lot of stuff. So one is extracting data. If there is a data lake, etc., or a data warehouse, then extracting data, RPA bots can do. There are 3 UiPath, Automation Anywhere, Blue Prism. They can extract the data, whatever you want, from whichever table and bring it into a place. And the queries can start doing the work. Queries, we discussed Python, SQL and R. R is free source. कोई tension नहीं है. लेकिन SQL के comparison में थोड़ा weak है. Okay. So, but then you can write the queries there and it can start doing the work. So, that is there. Of course, when I talk about tools, there are 3 things which come to my mind. एक तो sampling. How do you select the sample, and statistical sampling. So like idea type of tools will even help you in doing sampling, and many will help you in doing the sampling. Second is like how do you keep your documents and working paper and evidences. So that is where I think we talked about Teammate. There is Archer, there is Productivity Governance Portal जो हमारा है वो भी है. Then we talk about like again report writing. So Teammate etc. You can even type some stuff and the report can come out from there. Now we talk about like sending the reminders for audit committee का जो हमने जो observation दिया उसका implementation. So many of these products can even send the automatic reminder. It will go to the process owner 7 days before the due date. It will go to his boss 5 days before the due date, and then it will update everything. And all the information comes out. Like Samir was mentioning, कि कितने observations है, कितने implement हुए हैं, कितने नहीं implement है, कितने overdue है, कितने high, medium, low है. All of those can come out by way of beautiful graphs and charts from there. Let me, Ajay, before I want to come to you, but let me cover one more thing. That ICI, someone was asking me today, at ICI has done one software which they have given us free for keeping the document, evidence, working paper, etc. You can go to ICI, look at, put in your membership number and start using that. One is on audit quality, and I'm going to statutory audit and tax audit also. I'm jumping here and there a little. But audit quality maturity module, AQMM, presentation यहाँ पे हुआ ही होएगा Pune में, people would have attended. So like it has got completely everything, like whether you had a working paper, whether you have audit completion checklist, whether you have done tick, 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 whatever is required to be done, that everything is there in that AQMM software. And if you start putting in information for your tax audit, statutory audit, cooperative audit, whatever inside, you will know how mature your organization is, and it will help you in peer review. So that is there. I think they talked about process mining. Celonis is also very good. CELONIS, process mining tool है. Celonis का procure to pay, order to cash का video देखिए. Beautiful video. The moment your client introduces Celonis and puts the real process कि इसके बाद ये होना चाहिए, वो process डाल दिया, even a single transaction does not follow the process, it will throw up on the basis of date and time stamp. So there are multiple of these which can be used. Whatever came to mind, I spoke about that. Ajay, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, just continuing on this theme of new tools that are available. One that I'm sure all of your organizations would be happy to support you in your initiative would be the free usage of Microsoft apps that come with Office 365. Look at, I think it's Automate. There's an app on that. Power as well. You can, very simply what you can do is, if you have a predefined workflow for approving stuff, you can correlate it with your Outlook so that all these follow-up reminders for audit issues to the auditees that have you completed it, their responses, collation of all of that, putting it on a dashboard. It's real easy. You don't need to get your IT team support for it. Just play around with it and it's doable. In fact, we have done this recently in our company, that all the follow-up reminders now go over Outlook then.
I would like to add here, even Microsoft Teams is a very useful tool that many are using for not just as an audit repository, but even for audit planning, scheduling. The OneNote feature also is very good, which is used for capturing the processes and all that. Yeah.
Beautiful. Coming again to the statutory audit, tax audit, or your normal office, because many people did not raise their hand when he asked the question internal audit. So like एक Jamku करके, anyone use Jamku? JAMKU? No. Jamku can be used for like your article clerks in your office. आप काम देते हो every week बैठ के उसने कौन से client पे कितना hours charge किया है. टाइम शीट मैनेजमेंट नहीं होता है, जमकू में ये कैन डू. आपने कौन से क्लाइंट पे कितना आवर्स लगाया, आपका बिलिंग कितना होना चाहिए, WIP इट कैलकुलेट्स. आपने काम हो गया लेकिन बिल किया है कि नहीं, इट कैलकुलेट्स. इट इज़ अ वेरी गुड सॉफ्टवेयर. इट इज़ डेवलप्ड बाय अ CA आदर्श मदरेशा इज इन थाने. एक्सेलेंट सॉफ्टवेयर. अगर इनकम टैक्स क्लाइंट है, 200-300 रिटर्न आप फाइल कर रहे हो, तो उसका आपको जाके लॉग इन करना पड़ता है इनकम टैक्स के पोर्टल पे और देखना पड़ता है आज स्टेटस क्या है. Jamku के अंदर only you press the refresh button and it will go and fetch all the data for all your PAN numbers of all your clients which you are filing returns and tell you what is the current status appearing on the income tax website. So that is good. There is one more firm way, FIRMWAY. CA Prashant Gupta, CA Vivek Chandan. They do reconciliation, third party reconciliation. क्रेडिटर्स या डेटा उसको कंफर्मेशन भेजना है, मेल पे जाता है, लेजर अगर आ गया, PDF में हो, PPT हो, एक्सेल हो, बिल टू बिल रिकन्सिलेशन, लेजर रिकन्सिलेशन एंड क्लोजिंग बैलेंस ब्रेकअप इट डज. Alteryx he mentioned. Alteryx has got so many products. रेवेन्यू रिसीवेबल पूरा कर लेता है, प्रोक्योर टू पे पूरा, काफ़ी सारा पेमेंट का, क्रेडिटर्स का, रिकन्सिलेशन बहुत सारा. Firmware has also developed new products on 26AS reconciliation, 2A 3B reconciliation. तो डेटा डाउनलोड कर लेगा, रिकन्सिलेशन करके आपको देगा. ठीक है. सो देर आर लॉट ऑफ दीज स्मॉल टूल्स ऑल्सो विच आर अवेलेबल एंड मेनी ऑफ दीज आर डेवलप्ड बाय चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट्स. सो हियर अगेन आई थिंक एंटरप्रेन्योरियल माइंडसेट. What is the problem we face? Can we think about that? Can we get some young coders, sit through and develop a product? If you do that, I'm sure we'll be able to make a lot of wealth. Okay. I was telling Samir कि इंटरनॉइड करके wealth नहीं बनेगा. लेकिन अगर ऐसा कुछ कर लिया अलग तो wealth बनेगा. So with that, let me go to Bharat now, and everyone can add on that question who has got any inputs. Bharat, can and should IA leverage technologies deployed in first line and second line of defense?
Yeah, okay. So I think all of us know, right? First line and second line of defense. We as an internal auditor, we call ourselves third line of defense, which is providing assurance to the board that things are going on fine. Usually, internal audits budgets are limited, usually. And whenever you try to, buy something, some new technology, it goes into not high in the priority list. At the same time, the first line of defense, all various functions, they already have something invested in their own technologies. Whatever businesses they do, whether it's sales or HR or compliance, etc., they will have something to work on. Now, can us as third line of defense use that or rely on that? Because our job is to assess them as well, right? But can we use what they are doing, the result of that as our own analysis? So whenever I speak in some forums, a lot of times this becomes a controversial kind of a topic, because a lot of people do not want to use first line of defenses technologies for internal audit. But I have a different view. I think as long as it is giving the result which we want, the analytics which we want to do, if it is providing that, there is no harm in using those technologies. There is no point in doing duplications. They are doing something, company has invested money in it, and why do we want to reinvest again? So I've done the same thing in my own company as well. So we have, in our second line of defense, we have a software in compliance called Avacom, which is, I think, created by Team Lease. And they are using it, and we are using same software to send our reminders, the action open items of the internal audit reports. We are using that. So without spending any more money, we have at least used something. We were thinking earlier of buying some new technology software for doing this. And as regulators, like we are regulated by RBI, and as you know, how RBI comes down the neck. And nowadays, RBI is very, very focused on all financial organizations, whether it's bank or NBFCs, that the processes which they have, the transactions which they are doing, are done in an automated way. Lesser manual intervention, better it is for the company. So they go on to the extent, the KYC AML is one of the biggest things in any financial service organizations. The world does not fear nowadays about moving the money more than they fear about whether the KYC is done properly or not. And that's where RBI also thinks in the same way. And we used to do a manual reconciliation, manual analysis of all AML targets, whether the transactions which individuals are doing, whether they are, foolproof, whether they are sending it to a location which is not supposed to, etc., etc. But they bled down our neck, and we had to invest in a technology. It's a good technology, I think. And but the point I'm trying to make is, yes, internal auditors can use the first and second line defenses technologies for their own benefit. But again, a word of caution, whenever they are using it, the first thing they have to do is make sure that technology is working fine. It has all the controls in place. Just taking in a cue from previous discussion on that Sisha and Patthar, that it does not matter whether Sisha kyun toota, Patthar kisne mara. But I think internal auditors go one step ahead to make sure that the glasses are bulletproof. So even if someone throws stone, it does not break. Of course, there is cost-benefit analysis required, but you get the sense, right? So hopefully, I don't know, we have been speaking a lot. There are so many technologies, Murtuza, Sanjay, Ajay, they have all spoken about. कितने याद है आप लोगों को? कितनों ने लिखा?
लिख रहे, बहुत notes बना रहे कितने लोग?
So I just want to take one moment. There are many technologies available out there. Number of them, various stages, various capabilities. Use what is best for your own appetite. Don't go overboard. Don't think that I need iPhone 15 Pro and when the work can be done in iPhone 14. So don't spend 1,50,000 rupees for something which you can do in 60,000 rupees in a similar way. So I would recommend that just use your own capabilities as per your own appetite, and then only think about using the technology. I think we will talk again later in little bit on whether how much money we should invest, whether the cost benefit analysis makes it easier for us to understand which technology to use. But for the moment, let's stop with this. Thank you.
So thank you, Bharat. I think Bharat is a very good man. As an internal auditor, he is trying to say कि like first line या second line का कुछ है क्या use कर सकते हैं क्या? मेरी लाइफ में experiences कुछ अलग हुए हैं. I have seen not people like me who are consulting firm, because अगर if I write a query and if Jitendra was to say कि give it to me, I'll say पैसा लगेगा इसका. But unfortunately, Sanjay जैसे लोग जो in-house internal audit team है, I've seen many. They write queries, they run it, they give a big report. After 3 months, they again come, or 6 months, they come, again run the query, give a big report. Then the CFO says, भाई query दे दे, मैं रोज run करूँगा और अपने आप देख लूँगा, correct करूँगा, तेरा कोई ज़रूरत नहीं है, तू आके हर बार डंडा मत मार. Has that happened with people who are in in-house internal audit function? I'm sure it would have happened with Sanjay. So Sanjay, whether you could use the first line, second line का कुछ product, or did they use your product? Anything you can tell us on that?
Murtuza, in a theoretical sense, one needs to have first line, second line, and third line of defense, right? But in most of the Indian organization, the second line of defense does not exist, virtually does not exist. And therefore, the role and responsibility of the second line is to a large extent done by, or the job is really split between the first line of defense and the third line of defense. Now, on the point of building on the technologies which are already being used by the first line of defense, I've got only one caveat there, is that we as internal auditors are expected to be independent and objective. And therefore, I'm not very comfortable using the same report which is being used by the first line of defense, because their requirements could be different, my requirements could be slightly different. So probably I would like to do some more digging into the report that is being used, whether it satisfies my requirements, and then of course I can use it. So there is no duplication of work as such. But yes, the use of analytics in audit eventually will lead to continuous monitoring and control. And that is where the world should move, and world is moving, and we as internal audit should be moving. We should not go to the audit committee and say, hey, listen, this year I will do 3 areas. Next year I will do another 3 areas. I mean, what are we talking about? We need to say that we will be able to analyze the transactions, right? Every minute, the moment they happen. So that's how I define continuous control monitoring. And of course, with the use of this, if you leverage IT, then we will be able to achieve that. And I think that is what is required. And in my opinion, internal audit is best place to develop those kind of monitoring tools and technologies, using the technology, which can be then handed over to either the second line of defense or to the third line of defense, first line of defense, for the purposes of monitoring, etc. And then internal audit, whatever time has been saved through all these efforts, can move on to focus on high risk areas, right, which are not necessarily driven by these technologies. Right. So I think that's how the overall vision or strategy should be if you are functioning as a head of internal audit.
One thing to add to Sanjay, just what Sanjay said. Continuous monitoring, yes, a noble aim. Where I slightly differ in my view is internal audit functions lack the bandwidth to chase down every exception or potential exception they find. A good case in point is we started with a review of journal entries that were getting posted outside of working hours. Okay, so we get a list of 50,000 exceptions. Then some smart aleck comes up and says, well, you took this data and timestamp based on the central server located in UK. Have you factored in time zones? Oh, okay, good. So let's do that. Then we whittle it down to 20,000 records. Then someone says, have you factored in daylight savings in North America? Because then they tend to work 1 hour extra or at a different time slot. Then you bring it down to 15,000. But still 15,000 is a huge number. And the moment you raise expectations with senior management that you have got 240 tests running that can give you potential exceptions, from their point of view, you are giving an assurance that none of those is an issue, or exactly 70% of those are an issue. Now, because we lack the bandwidth to do that, I'm a bit hesitant in giving a perception to the management that we can do continuous auditing with only the requirement for 2 FTEs. My status is always, I need 10 FTEs because even if technology does everything that we are supposed to do today, we still need to do this last mile check. And unless you find a way of, reading people's minds and understanding how the organization is evolving minute by minute, there's no substitute to that. Sorry.
So let me summarize this, and because in the interest of time, we'll have to move a little quickly as well. If the first line has to develop queries, they need to do monitoring on a regular basis every minute. Assuming the second line or the third line, design some queries. कि 3 वेंडर है, सेम आइटम है, तो लोएस्ट प्राइस वेंडर के पास से परचेस किया कि नहीं, एक बार देख लिया. अभी वो क्वेरी क्या डेटा लेना है, किधर से लेना है और कैसे रन करना है, दैट आई कैन गिव इट टू फर्स्ट लाइन, आई शुड गिव इट टू फर्स्ट लाइन. As much as possible, if I can move it to them, they can keep on doing it every minute, every day, whatever, and they can keep running. To Ajay's point, I think as a third line, we should not even run the continuous control. We should give it to the first line, let them run it. And we'll have a lot more things to do. And like Sanjay said, like if this petty things, whatever, either are taken care of by the SAP or ERP, three-way match and XYZ, या प्रोसेस माइनिंग टूल ऑन द बेस ऑफ डेट टाइम स्टैम्प और ऑन द बेस ऑफ दिस कंटिन्यूस क्वेरीज, उतना टेंशन कम है ऑडिट में. फिर गवर्नेंस इश्यूज, प्रोसेस इश्यूज, कंप्लायंस इश्यूज एंड अदर थिंग्स विल हैव टू बी सीन. So I think overall everyone is moving towards there. We will slowly, every organization I think should move there. Now Satish, welcome. But we started 15 minutes late. So we'll end 15 minutes late. I'm just updating you, but we are now moving to the last 3 questions quickly. So what are the suggested areas for upskilling the internal auditor? Bhavana, over to you.
So we have heard a lot about the data analytics skills and, so of course as an internal auditor, we will have to upskill ourselves in those areas. One more area that I feel that, is a requirement for the internal auditor in future, or, even the current trends are suggesting, moving the audit approach towards the agile auditing rather than the traditional water flow approach that most of us use for the operational audits. Agile auditing helps us to be more flexible, and the responsiveness to the change or the circumstances, priorities of the organizations, that helps more actually when we have the agile approach. So while we can have the traditional audits for the regulatory purpose or certifications, having agile audit will also help in being more collaborative with the other organizations. It encourages the communications with the other business teams as well. And the best part about that is that it is very responsive to the change, and at the same time, it provides the real-time insights and the information to the auditees as well. So we need not wait for the entire audit cycle to be completed before we start the real-time reporting as well. So the business teams can start taking the action whenever there is a critical finding or an issue that we come across. I think that is the need of the hour.
Excellent. So I think interesting stuff. And she mentioned an interesting word, agile auditing. But Sanjay, reskilling was the first word, and now agile auditing is the second word. If you want to give your inputs, and then I can come to the other two also on those 2 words.
See, I think apart from the technical knowledge, updation, etc., some bit of IT skilling, etc., that is required. I think what is also equally important is ESG today. Right? I mean, nobody has been talking about that, but still, ESG is one of the most important reporting framework ever, which is coming, and it is even bigger than the normal financial reporting. And it does not involve technical skills, but it requires a lot of auditing skills and control skills and process skills. And it's a completely new or different area, and with wide application. That is one area. And second is data privacy for at least those organizations which are consumer facing organizations. It's of a very high importance today. So these are the two areas where I think skills needs to evolve for we as a chartered accountant. Evolving skills for us from a compliance standpoint, wait for a minute, but let's at least get into ESG, right?
Very important topic, I think, Sanjay, you raised on ESG. And while you were talking, I was just trying to think. So ESG nowadays does not mean, so we used to have BRSR, we used to have many other ways to report. But ESG today is not limited just to when we look at environment, whether there is oxygen, whether there is pollution or not. I'm just trying to understand a scenario, maybe give you a little bit of input. Think about a toothpaste manufacturing company. So the manufacturing company is established in US, but because they have outsourced their manufacturing to say China, I'm just giving a hypothetical example. So the pollution norms are now to be dealt in China, not in US. Now what happens, US company, because of the ESG requirements, US company would want their Chinese counterparts to make sure all environmental related factors are taken care of. Not only in production, but when they do the supply chain, those tubes are sold to different locations. Now these tubes can harm the atmosphere, can harm the environment. So they would want to make sure those tubes are sought back to the company so that either they can reuse it, recycle it, or discard it in a way it does not harm the environment. So think about, it's not restricted just where you are when manufacturing the product, whether you are emitting any gases into the environment, but to the last mile of that particular product where it is impacting. At the same time, on upskilling, just taking a cue from the earlier discussion, what we do a lot of times, we try to take help of existing employees in different departments. For example, in finance organization, ops is one of the major departments, and operations, they handle a lot of areas. So we see if there is a person who has spent some time and now has moved to a different segment, and they would want to continue with this particular function, or they want to add value in auditing. So taking insights from existing employees is always helpful. Of course, they would need some sharpening, some sort of polishing, but it helps a lot, other than regular upskilling. Thank you.
So I think beautiful inputs from everyone. Agile auditing, they touched upon. Samir was telling us on the standards today morning. And let me tell you, ICI just revised all the standards. But I think I will have to again need one more revision. Because the standards, international and India says 3-year plan, 1-year plan, and then maybe revise it if you require. Now every internal function, multinational global functions, they're saying we'll keep on changing it every quarter. And every quarter they go to the audit committee and they say like, I want to drop this area, I want to do this area. So agile audit plan. If you look at the Vodafone or the Shell of the world, they're talking about 60% for the planned areas, 20% for doing a common area across globe in 5 countries, 10 countries, 20% of time for management request. अगर CEO, CFO बोलेगा ये area देखने का तो वो करना पड़ेगा that way. So I think the whole planning process is going through a drastic change, and that is where the word agile in the planning. When we talk about agile in like the reporting or in doing the work, earlier we were writing word reports, then we were taking PowerPoint. When I was in Vodafone 2 decades back, they said कि एक slide में एक observation होना चाहिए, उसके बाहर नहीं जाना चाहिए. Abhi now when I go to a board meeting and I say like there are so many vendors from whom you are buying more than 1 crore. All of a sudden one audit committee member will say, अच्छा more than 80 लाख कितना है बताओ. तो खाली उधर 1 करोड़ का 80 लाख करना है, W में दूसरा नया ग्राफ आ जाता है 1 मिनट में. So when I was doing my CA, I had to take in Excel, make a table, make a pie chart graph, अभी कुछ नहीं है. That is what is agile reporting. So database is there on the back end. you have front-end dashboards, you go to the audit committee, you go to any meeting and you keep changing the number and the new numbers come up. And you say this is a report now if you want to see like this. So I think it is changing a lot. Now, two questions from one each, Bharat and Ajay. But after that, I'll come to each one of you for one sentence. Only one sentence that you want them to take away. So I think we'll be able to close in the next 10-12 minutes. So Bharat, to you, how to adjust in the ever-changing technology landscape? Do you think we should keep buying new technology as an internal function, or we should keep learning new technology as an internal function?
Yeah, I think we touched upon that a little bit earlier as well. So the technology will keep on changing. Your iPhones keep on changing, your Apple Watches keep on changing, your Android phones keep on changing, your laptops keep on changing. Not only hardware, the softwares keep on changing. Sometimes you use Microsoft, Google, Yahoo. There is no, I don't know whether it's still there or not. So the technologies will keep changing. You have to look at your own appetite for at least medium term, if not for the long term, that from current to 3 years or to at least 5 years, will I be able to sustain if I'm getting something? And you should be able to use that to your benefit. If there is a confusion in your mind, if every 3 months, if you keep thinking that whatever I have bought, I could have got better, वो तो शादियों में भी होता है. But that's something you will have to, you will have to keep thinking about that the plan has to be such that it's good to my pocket, it's good to my heart, and it's good to my mind. So whatever I am buying in today, I should be able to sustain for some time. I should be able to use it for my benefit, for company's benefit. And if there is a smaller expansion in some time, I should be able to absorb it in time.
Thank you. I think, so he said, look at our own pocket, evaluate, and then accordingly take it ahead. Let us welcome Vivek Likhite, the next panelist, and again Mohit. So I think almost everyone is here. And the last question, so to Ajay, what are the promising areas to explore in the near future for the benefit of Internoid? Also, I'll come to the other three so that they can prepare. Tools, technology, whatever. What more can an Internoider do? Not only as an Internoider, also as a risk, as a consultant, how can they add value to the organization?
So two areas I have in mind. One is that marrying external data sources with internal proprietary data and generating rich insights. Now that sounds a mouthful. What I actually mean is, and this is something we touched upon earlier in the day, about looking at the directors database that MCA has made available. So similarly, how many of you know that there is an open data initiative in which many governments are participating? So what could be done with that is, you go to the Government of India's website, as a ITC or as a Hindustan Lever, I would get to know the wholesale prices of all the pulses or all the cash crops that I am invested in, and I would know that data by district, by the variety of the crop, by any dimension. Now, how could I use this data? I could check those wholesale prices against my selling prices or procurement prices, and I could see if I'm doing a good job in my company as a buyer or as a seller. The second big area, which I think is upon us already, and some companies have started to do that, is, I think it's not working, leveraging on unstructured data. So text analytics is a big area to look at. With JSON statements, you can scan through big contract documents that are like 100 pages long, or you can go through what is it that I had in mind? Yeah, reports, annual reports, and you could query those textual data to find out whatever information you are interested in. So for example, you wanted to know if the jurisdiction, the place of jurisdiction in case of a dispute, if that is consistently entered across all contracts. A single JSON statement will help you go through all of your contract repository and give you the answer in a fraction of a second. Another area that is nascent but growing is use of image recognition. So for inventory counts, like take a picture of the warehouse and the system will do the counting for you of how many barrels or how many logs did they see if you're in the forestry business. And this is not a wild speculation. This is already in use in some companies. The only caveat, just like with every technology, is it needs to be refined, and before deploying that, you need to know why you want to use it.
Sanjay, inputs from you on this, on what can internal auditor do better as a risk manager, consultant, whatever. Or
Keep it simple and frugal, that's all. There are so many things and so much noise around, to be honest, with all kinds of social media platforms, people coming in and trying to sell you all sorts of softwares, technologies and whatnot. But I will go with what Bharat has been saying. First understand where you stand, what you want, and just go by it. Keep it simple and keep it frugal, that's all.
Bharat, your one last sentence, or if you want to add anything else.
So, other than what we discussed, so I've written on my board in my cabin, everything is observed here. So, whenever generally someone walks in, they read this, and it's written in bold and big letters. And I follow the same principle. Observations is a great skill. I don't know how many of you know about Pula Deshpande. So I'm a big fan of Pula Deshpande, and you know his oratory skills are unmatched, his literary skills. And the thing I was thinking about, that everything he does purely is out of observation. So whenever he speaks about someone or an incident, the fine detailing which is there, it all is because of the observation. So I think the more you observe, the better it becomes.
To you, Bhavana, one last thing.
Okay. So my closing statement would be, I think what an internal auditor or a consulting firm can do better is building that trust with the client or the business teams by being more transparent, enhancing the collaboration, and they will consider you as your advisory partners rather than an auditor who is just doing the fault finding activity. They will come up to you with your problems.
Yeah.
So I think that will be, that's
Beautiful. To you, Ajay.
It sounds like a cliche, but a big believer of change is the only constant. That's it.
Good. So I think excellent session, lot of takeaways. But before I end, I think they touched upon one very interesting thing, and so something came to my mind. Let me tell you. Because a lot of people, I feel, are still in statutory GST and income tax, etc. So both the GST and income tax department have started using one database. They're using a tool. Your GST audit of your clients, not your audit, but your client GST audit is now being completed in 15 minutes using a tool. So next year onwards, the GST audit will be done like that. And like it is a simple Excel. यहाँ पे अलग-अलग rate का GST में form में डाला हुआ है, उसका total they compare with the financial statement. Now that was not enough. They talked about unstructured data and all the word, text and all of those. So when I give a transfer pricing report study, I do a study and I give a report. What do? I use international databases to check the rate, arm's length rate. Here the department is also using that. Transfer pricing department has started using the international databases for the rates. And the related party, we don't put in income tax form. So related party का जो notes है financial statement में, उधर से they are putting up the information using an RPA bot, bringing it into an Excel for easy understanding, and from your transfer pricing report they're putting the information and again comparing. And I was speaking to she was there as a chief guest yesterday, Chief Commissioner of Income Tax day before at the regional conference at Bombay, and she says the transfer pricing department is ready with about 3,000 notices which are going to hit our clients. Only on valuation, purchase, overpricing, less tax, less profit, and sales underpricing. So using this software, using the AI, RPA bot, etc., they are coming up with this and they want to hit us with all these notices. So regulator is collecting humongous amount of data, they are using it so well, and I'm sure we can also use all the data. But my only last take is, I think we'll have to keep on learning technology and keep looking beyond, because what is currently standing in front of us, the technology, the AI is the biggest enemy, and how do we overcome that and go beyond is the question. So with that, I think, thank you. Otherwise, if there is any other input from anyone, great. Thanks a lot. Thank you, guys. Let us wait. Siddhi, you want to do a formal?
hosting such a beautiful event and hosting us as the panel members. Thank you.
It was such an amazing session. Like, I don't feel it was like an after lunch panel discussion, because I don't think anyone was feeling sleepy or yawning. It was amazingly engaging one. Everyone was quite active. They also laughed. People were there smiling and engaging. Okay, after that, now I request CA Amrita Kulkarni ma'am to propose the vote of thanks.
That was just not a post-lunch session, absolutely, I must say. Profession in its 3.0 has seen the transition from clicks to ticks, but in 4.0 now, the roles and responsibilities are changing, the evolving role of the professionals with the emerging trends in the profession. I'm definitely sure with the discussions which we had today will take us a long way in upcoming days, and thank you so much, Bharat sir, Bhavana ma'am, Sanjay sir, Ajay sir, thanks a lot. And Murtuza sir for navigating the discussions in a wonderful way. Thanks a lot to everyone. Thank you.
I think for the next panel, the moderator Mohit and all the panelists are here will quickly get started. And all of them are also pretty senior. And ultimately the final is your report which goes out to the world, okay? And we're going to cover the reporting, the communication and the stakeholder management. कि कैसे मैनेज करके वो रिपोर्ट में ऑब्जर्वेशंस आए. So I think with that let us move ahead.